Hello and welcome back to Shutter Drives. Hope you guys are staying safe and healthy. Today here we are at Lonavala driving not one but two Tata Punch. But before we get into the review, I'll tell you a very small story. Recently one of my friend approached me and he said that he wants to buy a car within 10 lakh rupees. When I asked him whether if he wants a petrol or a diesel, a manual or an automatic transmission, he said that he's particular about only one thing, that it has to be a compact SUV. That's when I realized that this compact SUV is a very hot segment and this is growing at a pace faster than anyone on earth expected. Tata wants to leverage this opportunity. They're using the same Alpha platform that is used in Ultros and they're churning out a new product called as the Tata Punch. Is the Punch actually needed, or is just another product which isn't needed by the market in the form of an SUV which has a cladding and is raised height? Do we really need these compact SUVs? Do they make sense? Because you see, SUVs are supposed to be large, bulky, huge, macho and things like that. In the world of such SUVs, do these micro SUVs make any sense? And especially, does the Tata Punch have enough punch to nail the segment? Let's find out. Stay tuned. Although looks are subjective, I'm 99% confident that people are going to love the looks of the Tata Punch because it looks very macho in spite of the miniature size of the car. And Tata has tried very hard to accommodate Punch well with the other members of the family, that is the Harrier and Safari especially. But there is a lot of similarity in the way the Punch looks with the Safari and the Harrier, and Tata has tried very hard for that. Of course, a lot of people are going to like it, but there may be some people who feel that that exclusivity factor should have been left to Harrier and the Safari twins. They should not have tried to resemble the Punch with them. And talking about the design, you have the DRLs here, which are prominent in the other Tata cars, the Safari and the Harrier. And then you have the projector headlamps here. The headlamps of Harrier and Safari are really good. The illumination is very good. Of course, we did not get an opportunity to test that here in the daylight, but we're really hoping that that part is sorted here. And there is this cladding here. A lot of them, including me, I feel that the cladding is a bit too much for the small size of the car. It looks, it's eating up a lot of space in the front part of the car. Yes, cladding gives a sense of machiness to the car, but this is a bit overdone. And apart from that, you have this neat design here on the grille and the lower dams. And another thing Tata has pointed out exclusively today morning is these are functional vents here, which means that there is actually they are helping in controlling the aerodynamic drag, which is going to be good because in spite of that, this micro SUV takes around 16 seconds to reach the 10 mark, which is slightly higher. And you have the halogen fog lamps here, which is very acceptable at this price bracket. Nobody's going to expect LED at all. And apart from that, you'll see a lot of tri-arrow elements in this car. I mean, the Tata is following the philosophy of maintaining the tri-arrow design in Nexon EV, and the same thing is evident here. And there is this neat subtle touch of tri-arrow on the like plastic panel here on the grill, the main grill, and I think that looks very nice. And really like the shade of orange also, which was first there in the Harrier and which is prominent across the Punch now. And you'll see that the panel gaps are the best in this car compared to any other Tata car out there. In fact, when you drove the Harrier earlier, the panel gaps were very inconsistent. I'm not telling that the panel gaps are inconsistent or consistent here, but they are fine. But of course, you will find some elements, especially the side panels, where you'll see that the panel gaps are inconsistent. Like you can see here, the panel gaps are a lot here on top, and as you go down, they reduce. So this is something that Tata should have taken care of, and assuming that this is a pre-production model, hopefully things will be sorted out in the production variant. 16 inches of wheels for this car is quite a lot in my opinion. But having said that, the alloy wheels kind of gel with the car. But the size should have been probably an inch lesser. The ride clarity could have been better that way. One of the factors, of course, not the only factor. And you have this cladding here. Again, it's a squarish design, which kind of goes well with the car, no problem there at all. Also, not to forget, the alloy wheels get a dual tone treatment, and they kind of contrast the orange color here in this case. When you move to the side of the car, the most evident thing is the cladding. The cladding occupies probably say 20-25% of the entire area that is there. I mean 20% easily, and that's a bit too much in my opinion. I mean Tata is trying very hard to tell people that this is an SUV, this is an SUV with small hints like this, but this is a bit too much here. The cladding could have been cut down here on the side. And apart from that, you have a funky fuel lid design, and what's more important here is, just like we saw in the cars like Chevrolet Beat, New Swift and all, you'll have to open the doors using this. Of course, not a big fan of it, but actually if you look at it, it kinds of gel with the small car. Moving to the rear of the car, you have this really nice looking tail lamp here. Of course, the halogen. Nobody's expecting LEDs at this price at all. And if you notice this, Tata has given a tri-arrow treatment inside the rear tail lamps as well, which is, Tata trying to be as nice as possible to maintain uniformity throughout the car. And at the rear, you have this ventilated dams here on the bumper, and there's again tri-arrow elements here. There are 2 parking sensors in total, and I think Tata should have provided a couple of additional parking sensors as well, but it's okay. I mean, this car is going to be very competitively priced, be assured about that. And having said that, this is totally fine. And there are a couple of Easter eggs as well, like you have the rhinoceros here. And talking about the spoiler, you don't have a full-fledged spoiler as such, but there's a nice stop lamp integrated into this pseudo spoiler here. Roof rails are an integrated part of SUVs. We saw that in Tata Safari 20-30 years ago, and Tata wants to remind that to you now, and that's why they have added these roof rails, which are fake in my opinion. They're pseudo roof rails, they're not functional. In a nutshell, I think Tata has really aced the design, because not overdoing the design in a small form factor is very rare. We saw that what happened with KUV. When Mahindra tried to overdo the KUV, it was a catastrophe. It was a massive blunder there, but that's not the case here. Although the Punch looks slightly overdone, it's in its limits, and that is going to be the trump card for this car. I mean, 3 out of 5 people are going to buy Punch only because of the way it looks, the stance, and this coupled with an unmatched ground clearance of 190 mm and 370 mm of water wading depth is going to be a big feather in the cap for this Tata car. So this is the engine bay of the Tata Punch, and of course I am definitely not expecting that we'll get hydraulic struts here, because when I realized that when you pay 40 lakhs for the Toyota Fortuner and still don't get hydraulic struts, I'm not expecting that in the car, which is going to cost probably 1/8 or 1/10 of the price. And talking about the engine, it's a 1.2 liter 3-cylinder engine. Refinement levels from this engine at this price bracket is totally acceptable. No complaints there. We'll talk about it during the drive. And this is the 1.2 liter engine, which churns out approximately 82 bhp of power, and this should be more than enough for your city drives and your weekend commutes. SUVs are known to have religious boot space, but let's check out what does a micro or other compact SUV has to offer. And this is a partial shelf here, and this is 366 liters of boot space. And considering that the exterior dimensions of the car are limited, the boot space is really good, because it's a 366 liter of boot space, and considering that the first 2 rows offer a lot of comfort, this slight compromise is justifiable. It should be enough to store in 2 duffel bags for a weekend trips, but yeah, nothing more than that, considering that this is a small SUV. So we're going to check out the interiors of the Tata Punch, because you're going to spend a lot of time inside the car than the outside. But before that, there's a small party trick here. As you can see, the doors of this car open all the way till 90 degrees. It's very easy, probably the easiest car you can get in and get out. Talking about the interiors, it's very evident that Tata has taken a significant effort to build the car as nice as possible. But with that, what is evident is Tata has used hard plastics to keep the cost under control, which is nothing but another terminology for cost cutting. And of course, given the price bracket this car is going to come under, we can expect hard plastics. I mean, the plastics are really hard. It's one of the hardest that I've seen. But that's fine considering that this car is going to cater to mass market. It's not that, this car is going to be expensive where we would complain about hard plastics. But apart from that, there's this nice touchscreen system here, which is backed by Aira connectivity. There are really nice chrome vents here for the AC surround, and the flat bottom steering wheel lifted off from Ultros directly makes a nice appearance here. The display of the instrument cluster, it's nothing great as such, because Tata had an opportunity where they could have easily designed the instrument cluster that we spoke about earlier, but Tata decided to take this directly from the Ultros and place it here. And apart from that, this is the switch that I was talking about, where you can control the driving modes. This is the Eco and City, and this is the auto start stop button here. If you thought that the front itself was a party trick, the 90-degree door, this is how the door handles of this car open. And we saw this in a lot of cars earlier, Chevy Beat, the new Swift, and a couple of other cars. And it's very easy to get inside and get out of the car. The first thing that you realize is there are a couple of things missing here. There's no sunroof even in the top end variant. Tata should have probably given a sunroof, because there are a lot of people in India that love cars with sunroof. And if sunroof was an option, at least, I think it would have done wonders in increasing the sales of this car. That's very evident, there's no doubt about it. And I agree to the fact that probably sunroof is one of the most overrated feature which is barely used in a car. And talking about the second thing that is missing here, that's the AC vents. I mean, I'm totally okay with sunroof not being there in this car. There are a lot of other options out there, but the glass area for this car is bigger, and in fact the cabin area itself is bigger considering the size. But the omission of AC vents also mean that the rear passengers will have to brace themselves for not so nice experience when it comes to hot and humid climate. Third thing that's not there is leather seats, even in the top end variant. I mean, it's okay, leather seats might not be the best of the best option which is favored by everyone, but at least as an option. Even a Fox leather seat would have enhanced the premium appeal of the car. And mind you that this is a top end variant, which is not going to be like very cheap or something like that. And talking about the space, the space is really good, and that's what people are going to like. The space of in this car, the rear seat space is really good. And unlike other Tata cars where the seats are very hard, the seats are nice here, they're cushioned, well cushioned, the legroom is good, there's ample headroom, literally ample headroom, and the under the support is also surprisingly good. The reclination angle for the seats is good. There is center armrest. Again, there are no cup holders here. I think at least a cup holder here would have made so much more sense. And what's also surprising is there are no charging ports here at the rear, and these are the small things which add a lot of nice feeling. For example, charging ports, the cup holders. I think these two things should have at least been there, if not for other fancy features. And that said, you do get adjustable headrest, which is nice. Thankfully, Tata has not crossed the limit in terms of cost cutting. Overall, a really nice place to be in.
There's a thick white plastic strip running across the dash, and just like the Safari, Tata has decided to make the cabin feel more premium with this shade, although we fear it's prone to getting soiled in our conditions. There's a 7-inch floating infotainment system that also hosts plethora of connected car features through the Aira connectivity. As expected, Tata Punch will get Android Auto and Apple CarPlay connectivity options with its infotainment system. Apart from this, the screen will also show trip details based on benchmarks like efficiency, driving, safety, and a lot more. You also get the Watt 3 Words feature that we saw in the Ultros Turbo Petrol. The sound clarity from the Harman source system comes through 4 speakers and 2 tweeters and lives up to the legacy of Tata Motors with really good clarity. A closer look at the seats also enlightens us with its tri-arrow details. The quality of switches of the AC controls are leaps and bounds ahead of what we had imagined. However, some of the basic physical buttons would be a welcome more. Last but not the least, the AMT gear lever feels really nice to operate, and a big thumbs up for not using a cheap rotary dial like some cars with AMT.
The seating position of the Punch is actually unmatched in its segment. It makes you feel that you are having a relatively commanding position compared to any other raised hatchback there, against which the Punch is directly going to compete. So coming to the drive part of the Tata Punch, does it have enough punch? The answer is yes and no both. I'll tell you why it's an S. Something that ticks off the box for the Tata Punch is the 1.2 liter naturally aspirated engine. which is mated to the AMT gearbox, in this case the car that I'm driving right now. So talking about the performance of the engine, it's a typical Tata engine, and that is the same engine that is there in the Altroz as well. The refinement levels from this three-cylinder engines are really good. By really good, it's not as bad as a Skoda's 1 liter 3-port engine. I'm not believing that I'm comparing Tata's engine to a Skoda, but that said, I can tell you again that the NVH levels, the refinement levels of this engine is far better. It's not just better, it's far better than the 1 liter 3-ports of Volkswagen and Skoda that we see in Polo and cars like Rapid. And something that's not really good is the AMT gearbox that is paired with this engine in this case. The gearbox does exhibit lag, and that lag is evident. I really wish that we had a torque converter here, but of course that considering that it's going to be priced very competitively, we cannot expect that, and the price difference between this and manual has to be less, and that's a very very crucial factors for Tata Motors, and they cannot afford to bump up the prices. And in the AMT variant, you do have an option to slot it into the manual mode. For example, I have slotted into the manual mode right now, and it is asking me to downshift. So I have downshifted from 4 to 3, and it's full throttle right now, and the car is taking its own sweet time to realize that I have changed the gear. That's how the AMT is. Unfortunately, AMTs aren't that nice to drive, they aren't responsive, and this car is a testimony to that. One place where the manual mode of the AMT might help you is in off-roading conditions where you want to have the control of the gear. For example, we had two punts here, both were AMTs right now, and my friend Teeth slotted into the manual mode of the AMT, and then he drove uphill in very bad road, and it was a piece of cake for the car. But my other friend Pratik drove the car in the auto mode of the AMT gearbox in the same patch of road. It was a completely gone case road. It was filled with stones, potholes, mud, and literally whatnot, and the car actually struggled in the auto mode. So that's where the difference lies. It gives you some flexibility, it gives you some control, additional control of the car when you slot it into the manual mode. And does the car have a manual override? Honestly, I don't know, but let's find out now. So I have slotted into the first gear. Yes, there is a manual override, as you saw that the gears have upshifted automatically, and it's a nice thing for the engine gearbox, because using this, the engine gearbox can be much healthier. That's it. Talking about the engine again, mid-range is where there is a decent amount of punch that is there in the Tata Punch, but again it flats out at the higher range. It takes its own sweet time to reach the 100 kmph mark, which is approximately 16 seconds plus according to Tata Motors, and 16 seconds in 2021 is a big number. We really expect cars to be as quick as possible to the 10 mark, and even considering that it's a mass market car, somewhere around 12 to 13 seconds should have been justifiable for this car, because apart from that wow factor, the Tata Punch is really a nice package that is going to be loved by many people, and not just someone who loves SUVs or someone who loves cars that are good to drive. The Tata Punch is made for a common man. The Tata Punch is made for a mass market audience, and that's where it kind of excels. Let's check out the horn of the car. Again, a bit thumbs down here. Honestly, doesn't do justice to the slightly macho characteristics of the car. Of course, I'm not saying that this is a very macho SUV or something like that, but a nicer horn, probably, if not the Vintone, a nicer horn would have been really great for the Tata Punch. But is there something else that is nicer in the Tata Punch? Yes, it is the steering feedback. The steering feedback of the Tata Punch is one of the benchmarks that is there right now in the segment, because this segment is really deprived of cars that are cater to the enthusiasts, which means that the steering feedbacks of more than half the cars in this segment is so artificial. When I'm talking about this segment, I'm referring to the premium hatchback segment. I'm not referring to the compact SUV segment because two things. Firstly, I don't think the Punch deserves to be a compact SUV just because it has a higher ground clearance. Second of all, it's not a compact SUV even if you want to call it, because the proportions are way too less and there's no direct competitor as such. You had the KUV 100 which kind of had the end of its life a couple of months back or a year back or something like that. So this steering feedback of Tata Punch is really nice. We were fortunate enough to do some really good triple digit speeds in controlled environments when the road let us do it, and even at speeds like say 130, 140, 145, the car was excellent in the handling department. Not sure if you're able to see this, but if you look at the instrument cluster, it's a copy paste from Tata Altroz, and I think that's where the problem lies, because Tata in the exteriors is trying really hard to tell you that Punch is a sibling, an own brother or sister of Tata Harrier and a cousin of Tata Altroz probably, but it's the other way around here. Here when you pick things up, you have the steering wheel, you have the buttons on the steering wheel, the stacks and instrument cluster which are just lifted off from Tata Altroz and put here. That's giving you a feeling that you are used to seeing this say probably 2 years ago and the same thing is lying here now. That's where the problem lies. I think Tata should have gone a bit ambitious there, and they should have created a new instrument cluster altogether, because this is a new car and the habit of part sharing to this extent is not very encouraging among manufacturers. And more importantly, it's not that it's nice either, it's not ergonomic. If the instrument cluster was really good, we could have still understood that, but if you get it, the instrument cluster here, neither the tachometer nor the speedometer are symmetric in design. What I'm trying to tell you here is the speedometer has a weird shape, the tachometer is squarish, not roundish, it's somewhere in between. So it's not a nice ergonomic appearance here, and I think Tata should have designed a new instrument cluster altogether. So there are two driving modes to choose from in the Punch. One is the economy mode and second is the city mode. So right now I'm in so there are two driving modes in the Punch. One is the economy mode and one is the city mode. So in the economy mode, as the name suggests, the engine is very conservative, the gearbox is conservative, it doesn't it upshifts sooner than expected, so that the mileage is optimum, the engine is slightly lethargic, and everything else that you would ever need to ensure that every single drop of fuel is extracted to the best of its potential. And we have the next, basically you need to change the modes here using the button here, and right now we are in the expressway, of course not place to check out the city mode. But yes, what happens in city mode is things are slightly better. Of course it's not a sport mode or something that's going to push you back to the seat, but here things are slightly better. The engine is far more responsive, the gear shifts are slightly later, which makes the driving experience nicer, and a couple of other things. I also found that the steering does weigh up a bit as well in the city mode, which is a nice thing. But that said, I guess if there is one thing that I really want in this car ASAP, literally ASAP, is I want a turbo petrol engine of the Altroz to be plugged into this car. And if I was someone from Tata Motors, I guess I would have done that at the launch itself, but I guess Tata feared that it would cause cannibalization, which means the Punch eating up to the sales of Altroz, and probably that's why they choose not to do that. But I think this car really screams for a turbo petrol engine, because it's actually nice to drive. Even one of those rare small cars which you can drive all day long, and by all day long I mean all day long. And the Punch is a clear winner for Tata Motors there, because not just the car has all the features, a high body which Indians love, a raised body and things like that, but the car is actually fair enough or good enough to drive as well. Big thumbs up to Tata Motors for coming a far way from the days of IndyCar to making one of the best cars in the segment, including the Safari, the new Harrier, we had the Altroz, and now the Tata Punch, which should rewrite the history for Tata Motors in India. So another bit that I want to add out here is the air conditioning system. Tata have always known to make some of the best AC systems for their car, and the air conditioning of this car is no less at all. It makes the cabin cool in no time, and thanks to the car not having a sunroof, the cabin is cooling faster too. Of course, the difference is minute, but yes, there is a difference if the car has a sunroof, and if it doesn't have a sunroof, the cabin is going to cool faster if the car doesn't have a sunroof. And of course the blower noise levels are evident, but that said, it's a trade-off. You want the car to cool faster, you will have to increase the blower levels, but that said, the AC at the rear seats also sums up nicely. There's a lot of cooling factor that's there even in the rear seats. So we're driving the manual variant of the Tata Punch now. Manual variant is an important variant for them because say 60 to 70% of the sales are expected from the manual variant itself. That's what the trend has been saying. Automatic is nice, but manual variant gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of say mild off-roading, or just in case if you happen to be an enthusiast, you're going to love a manual car way more than automatic. First things first, it's a 5-speed gearbox, and talking about the travel of the clutch. The travel of the clutch is surprisingly shorter. We have seen in recent Tata cars like Harrier and Safari that the clutch has a longer travel, but that's not the case here. The travel of the clutch is shorter, which is a nice thing. And what is an icing on the cake is the clutch is actually light, which is something that we haven't seen in say the Safari. Again, I'm comparing Safari a lot of times here because it's a recent Tata car that I've driven. So this gives us an idea how well Tata is progressing over a period of time. But not everything is rosy here. The gear shifts are a bit notchy. I think if Tata had worked upon that part a bit, especially the lower gears, say when you're slotting from first to second gear, or when you're slotting to the first gear, things get a bit notchy here. You get that bit of notchiness feeling. It's not say as nice or as smooth as the Swift, just for consideration. But if you take out the notchiness factor, I think manual is definitely going to make a lot of sense in this car. And also for the fact that it's a 3-cylinder engine, it's a small 1.2 liter 82 bhp engine. It's going to make a lot of sense for a normal buyer. Not trying to stereotype here, but say any person who has a budget of say within 10 lakhs and who wants to have a nice car which is easy to drive, a car which is high enough. I think right now Punch is definitely on the hot list, and it should be at least in the top 3 considerations, and based on that he can do a couple of rounds of selection and come up to a conclusion which car he wants to buy. Another thing that I want to point out is just because it's a manual variant, you do have a flexibility to keep the first gear taller, which also means that there's a lot of low end torque that's there. Of course, it's not a proper diesel engine or something that you will expect lots and lots of torque, but that said, in spite of this being a petrol variant, and especially in the manual variant, in the first gear there's a decent amount of torque available, and yes, that's about it. But coming to the big question, will I pick the manual or will I pick the automatic in this? I think it's a manual because the automatic is an AMT, like I discussed some time back. It's not a torque converter. If it was a torque converter, then torque converter would be a blind choice, but there's a AMT there, and I think 9 out of 10 times I would definitely pick the manual variant or the automatic counterpart. Just that the gears are a bit notchy in the lower gears, nothing else. Apart from that, it's a really nice gearbox.
With the small proportions and larger wheels, you wouldn't be expecting the best of the ride quality. And the theories say that the erstwhile cars of Tata family, the Harrier and Safari, are one of the most compliant cars on bad roads. Although the Punch does not inherit the complete DNA from them, it's still courteous to smaller potholes. However, should you get ambitious with the throttle input or not just speed breakers by mistake, you would be tossed off your seat. Another department where the Punch excels is the sheer handling characteristics of the mini SUV. In spite of its tall body design, the body roll is certainly acceptable. Of course, other low-slung hatches and sedans would see the Punch in the rearview mirror in corners. Thanks to the time it takes to reach a turn mark, that's approximately 16 seconds. In spite of the 3-port motor, the Punch is one of the nicest all-rounder your money could buy right now.
I guess so. As you know, the Tata Punch is equipped with the traction pro mode, where in case if there is a wheel spin happening in one of the wheels, it cuts off the power to that and gives power to the rest of the three wheels, so that it's easier to get out of the tricky situations. Something very remotely closer to what a deflog does, and we're going to demonstrate that right now. So there is a pack of ice that Tata Motors has kept there to demonstrate this activity better, or this feature better. Okay. So right now the front left wheel is stuck there. So the front left wheel is stuck there, and I'm going to give throttle here. Okay, yeah. So as you can see that it says that there is the wheel is stuck. Do you want to activate traction pro mode? Of course, we are going to select yes here. The traction pro mode is going to get activated, and this is just brilliant. I mean, there's some really incredible stuff here. It's going to be very helpful in situations like this where the car is stuck on ice, and this comes after the fact that the HBX or the Hornbill, the concept of the Tata Punch, was tested extensively in the winter regions of the Himalayas. Great stuff there from Tata Motors. The Tata Altroz was a very important car for Tata Motors in India, but unfortunately it didn't take off very well. Of course, there were a lot of fans and enthusiasts, but end of the day, Tata Motors has bills to pay and it really did not help them a lot. But after the Altroz, the biggest ray of hope is the Tata Punch, and it has all the ingredients to be the next big thing for Tata Motors in India. Probably it might not revamp their history as Indica did it for them, but again, this has all the potential to be the next big thing for Tata Motors India for sure. It drives well considering that it's a 3-cylinder engine. It has fair amount of bells and whistles. More importantly, it has a really good ground clearance. Until yesterday, I wasn't really big fan of cars having ground clearance and we badging them as micro SUVs. But fortunately, today we came across a couple of instances where the height and the ground clearance, especially of the car, has helped us a lot. We came with a Mini Cooper and a couple of Tata Punch, but trust me, we had to park the Mini Cooper aside, and Tata Punch was the only car that made it to the horrendous of the horrendous roads. I'm definitely not comparing Mini Cooper S to the Tata Punch, but what I'm trying to imply here is a car with a ground clearance which is good enough will take you places that a car with an average ground clearance can just dream of.
Tata Motors is also expanding the dealer service network at a pace faster than anyone had imagined, and this is an icing on the cake. However, we really hope Tata Motors has improved on the customer satisfaction scores, as this is one of the key areas that bother prospective customers from bringing a big T-badged car home. And given the fact that this is one of the low-lying fruits Tata Motors can address right now, we can't be more happier that the Punch is here on our roads at the perfect time. That's the festive season.
If you guys like the video, do not forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell notification. And more importantly, please follow us on Instagram for all the regular automotive updates. Take care, drive safe and stay healthy in these tough times.